She screamed, "Trespasser," like she owned the lake. I swear, that line stuck with me like a splinter. Ethan Miles didn't flinch, even when her fingers stabbed the air, even when the officers stepped off the boat, even when she called him a trespasser on his own land. She stood above, heels sinking into teak, voice sharp, glass raised. He didn't blink, just held the remote in his right hand, left hand loose, like someone waiting for a clock to strike. Behind him, 2 dogs sat still. Behind her, a party murmured over stolen lake light. He'd seen enough. She hadn't seen anything yet. Ethan didn't buy the land. He inherited it. 1 iron key, 2 border stones, and a map traced by hand in his father's attic. It wasn't just shoreline. It was memory pressed into dirt, the kind that doesn't show up in appraisals. He came back every summer, fixed the dock, fed the dogs, wrote his name under the old beams again and again, until the woods stopped forgetting him. They didn't see that part. The clipboard woman didn't. The board didn't. The neighbors, now sipping Cabernet on his lake, didn't. They saw a man alone, off-grid, with no house deed in his inbox. But Ethan knew the code, where the marsh turned, where the land rose half an inch, the way his grandfather marked it in 1956. He knew the split tree marker was still alive, even if the town's online record said otherwise. He kept receipts, letters. 1 copy of the boundary survey, notarized but never digital. Nobody asked. But he kept it anyway. He wasn't trying to win anything, but he knew the moment someone mistook silence for weakness, he'd need more than memory. He'd need timing and proof. The remote stayed in his hand. That lake didn't forgive strangers, and Ethan Miles wasn't about to start. It started with a sign, white letters, red trim, "No trespassing, HOA Zone 3. It wasn't there yesterday. Now it stood 3 feet from Ethan's dock, leaning slightly, fresh nails, still warm. He didn't touch it, just looked, then turned back inside the shed. The next day, a folded letter, laminated and clipped to his gate, signed by Acting Community Officer Monroe. Words like temporary review, public access reevaluation, unverified land use stared up at him. The dogs barked once. He told them not yet. 3 nights later, flashlights hit the trees. 6 steps, then boots, then voices, firm, rehearsed, legal. She came last, not walking, stepping, as if the earth owed her balance. White blazer, tan folder, gold pin that caught the moonlight just enough to matter. No greetings, no apologies, just 2 words. You can't. He didn't reply, didn't need to. His camera caught the whole line, with time stamps, with her voice. She walked his shoreline like she'd measured it herself, pointed at invisible borders, muttered community rights like scripture. He watched, said nothing. Pressed once on the remote, red blink. Active. Then came the mailers. HOA bulletins warning about unauthorized occupation of recreational zones. Not addressed to him. To residents of Zone 3. Neighbors started looking twice. Some nodded from afar, half polite, half curious. Others just closed doors a little faster. Still, he stayed. No protest, no meeting replies, no online posts, only silence. And under it, a tightening coil, like someone waiting for the last piece to fall into place. Ethan didn't pace, didn't rant, just folded the notice, placed it under a smooth river rock, same one his father used to weigh maps against wind. This wasn't overreach. It was opening move, and he'd already seen the endgame. Sometimes silence makes you angrier than yelling ever could. I've been there, watching someone twist the rules, knowing I couldn't speak yet. If this story echoed something in you, leave a trace below. We read all of it. He didn't show up at the meeting, didn't speak in the group chat, didn't reply to the warning letter taped to his gate. But at 10:12 p.m., Ethan Miles hit forward. 1 email, 1 name, Linda Cross, former HOA treasurer, forced to resign in 2021 after a budget misreport Cheryl pinned on her. People stopped talking to Linda, but Ethan remembered how she used to show up early with spreadsheets, and how Cheryl never mentioned her again. The forwarded email was clean, no comments, just Cheryl's latest accusation. Urgent. Repeated unauthorized presence near shared shoreline. Possible code breach. Requires formal response. He didn't need to explain. He just let the words burn themselves into someone who knew that voice too well. Linda never replied. Not that night. Not the next morning. But by 7:35 a.m., a black and white printout of the email appeared on the HOA community board, right between Lost Cat and Yard Sale Saturday. Stapled twice, straight through Cheryl's signature. Neighbors saw it, stopped, read, and for once didn't just keep walking. By noon, Cheryl had found it. Her heels hit the pavement hard. She ripped it down, but not before 3 people looked up from their coffee. That night, Cheryl was louder than usual on her deck, talking about privacy and ungrateful people who don't even pay dues. She wasn't yelling at Ethan, but the camera caught everything. The words, the timestamp, the wind shifting. Ethan watched from his back porch, didn't say a word, just slid a small drive into a weatherproof box, labeled it Board 04A, filed it beneath a marked folder, Chain. He wasn't reacting, he was archiving, and now someone on the inside had seen the first thread pull loose. Not everyone stays neutral forever, especially the ones who remember. The meeting wasn't loud, just long enough for people to get tired. Cheryl stood at the front, white folders, printed maps, confident voice. She spoke about illegal occupation, community violations, and security concerns. Ethan sat in the back, didn't raise his hand, didn't blink when she brought up his name. Only once did he shift when she said, "We've never received any formal request, nothing documented. This is all sudden." That was the cue. He opened the old HOA group on his tablet, the one Cheryl forgot to delete when they rebranded. Typed nothing, just scrolled. Found the thread from 87 days ago. Ethan Miles, HOA board, full. Subject, boundary clarification, Zone 3. Attached, scanned survey map, hand-drawn, dated 1980. Line 4, this isn't about ownership. Just don't change what she loved. He clicked reply, didn't write a word, just typed up arrow, pressed send. The message jumped back to the top of the chat. Dozens of phones buzzed. People looked down, then up, then at Cheryl. She stiffened, still smiling, but it cracked. "Old threads don't count," she said quickly. Besides, that was sentimental. But it was time-stamped, filed, delivered. Someone cleared their throat. Another crossed their arms. Ethan didn't look at Cheryl. He looked at the chair beside him, still empty, still folded. It used to belong to Sarah. She never liked speaking in meetings, but she loved that lake, and made Ethan promise never to let it become a noise trap. Cheryl knew that. She laughed when he wrote that line. Now it was pinned to every phone screen in the room. He tapped the table twice. No sound, but it echoed. The shift was small. One woman lowered her folder. A man near the door stopped nodding. Someone whispered, "Wait, he warned her?" She wasn't losing the argument. She was losing the room. And the room was the only thing she ever really owned. Cheryl raised the binder like a flag. Pages snapped, voice sharper than ever. Per HOA Bylaw 4.7b, no tent, structure, or shelter may be placed within 15 feet of community access shorelines. Period. She turned to Ethan. "This isn't emotional, it's written. The law's the law." Some nodded. A few phones went up to snap photos. One officer adjusted his stance. Ethan didn't rise, didn't defend. He reached into the canvas bag beneath his seat, slowly, and pulled out one page, folded, yellowed at the edge, slid it across the table. The officer took it, unfolded. At the top, request for HOA exception, Zone 3, dated June 2014, approved, signed. Signature, Matthew K. Dawson, HOA Chair, 2013 to 2016. Below that, handwritten note, still legible. Exception granted. Purpose, memorial use, no expiration. Ethan didn't look at Cheryl. He tapped one line, bottom right, witnessed by Cheryl Dawson. The room paused, no outburst, no debate, just one neighbor's voice, low but firm. "I remember this." She was against it back then too. Cheryl's lips parted. No words came. Her eyes scanned the room like a net tearing open. Someone cleared their throat. Another picked up their phone again, but this time to record. The officer's pen started moving, slow, deliberate, each letter sounding louder than Cheryl's entire speech. She stepped back, 1 inch, then 2. The glass in her hand tilted, slipped, shattered on the tile. No one flinched, no one offered help. Ethan exhaled once. Software, not relief, just release. What was written down had never gone away. It had only been waiting. Cheryl turned to speak, but the screen on the wall lit up. Ethan's forwarded email. Linda Cross's signature below it, a digital echo of what the room already felt. From behind, a man in HOA uniform said quietly, "We'll need to review her prior votes." Not his. Heron. This wasn't a standoff anymore. This was collapse. And Ethan never stood. No charges were spoken aloud. Not yet. But the meeting ended with fewer papers in Cheryl's hands than when it began. People left slower than usual. Doors closed with less certainty. The lake didn't move, not even the ducks. Ethan stayed, waited until the last chair folded, until the projector dimmed into a square of quiet gray. Then he walked the same path back. Boots in dirt. Same sound as years before. Same weight, just less fury. The dock still held its shape. The tent was gone, folded, packed, stored. Not out of fear, just no longer needed. He reached the bench by the waterline, the one she picked, where her name was still carved into the underside, beneath a coat of sealant only he knew was there. He sat. One breath. Then another. Then silence again. No speech, no smile, only the soft flick of a camera being powered down. And next to him, on the slats of old wood, a thin file marked in pencil. HOA exception file, Zone 3. Folded once. Weighted by a smooth river stone. The same one from his father's maps. The same one that never rolled away, no matter how strong the wind got. He didn't move it, didn't lock it up. He left it there. On purpose.